It's no secret that the GTA real estate market has been crazy for a really long time. Especially since the pandemic started, home prices have gone through the roof. Obviously, because this is happening, home affordability has become a huge issue. With the average price in the GTA reaching over $1 million, many people, including the younger generations, are really worried that they're not going to be able to buy a home in the future and they're going to be stuck renting forever. Now, there's nothing wrong with renting forever. If that's what you want to do, all the power to you. But if you do have dreams of owning a detached home, but you do think it's out of reach, don't worry, because in this video, we're going to talk about how you can afford a detached home in Toronto with just a little bit of hard work and a little bit of patience. What's up, everyone? It's Vazquez here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the home affordability issue in the GTA and how you can achieve your goal of owning a detached home in Toronto. Before we get into it, if you do find some value in the video or you enjoy the video, please do me a huge favor and click the like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you're feeling a little extra generous, just tap that little notification bell. Without further ado, let's get into it. I want to start with explaining how the GTA real estate market has evolved and how you need to think about approaching homeownership in today's market. Back in the day when home prices were 100, 200K, you could basically just buy a detached home right out the gate as long as you had a decent paying job. And as you all know, home prices have appreciated like crazy over the years, but the salaries haven't been able to keep up. So there's a disconnect there. And unfortunately, most people today, even if they are working a solid full-time job, are not going to be able to purchase a detached home as their first home. With the average price of a detached home in Toronto being over 1.7 million, you need a really high paying job and a lot of money saved up to even think about purchasing that. So what can you do in this situation? How do you afford a detached home in the GTA when you're making 50, 60, 70K a year at your job? The answer? You don't. That's just not going to be possible for most first-time home buyers. It's a move-up system in the GTA. Now, I really want you to understand this concept because I've had conversations with people who are really resistant to this idea, but this is really an idea that can help you achieve your goal of home ownership and eventually owning that detached home. Like I said, it's a move-up system. So the basic idea is this. You just get into the market as soon as you can. So you buy whatever you can afford, even if that means putting the lowest down payment possible, and then you're going to live in that house for 3 to 5 years. Then as you pay down that home over that 3 to 5 year period, and as the market appreciates, you can then sell that first home you bought and then move into a bigger house. And then you just repeat this process 2 or 3 times, and before you know it, you'll have a large enough down payment that you can afford a detached house. Now, we are going to look at a real life example in a second, but I'm sure you have some objections. So let's talk about those real quick. You may be thinking to yourself, why would I put all that money into a house and stretch myself thin? Isn't that stressful? And my answer to that is, I'm not saying you should put yourself in that situation where you're stressed and you're stretching yourself thin. The truth is you're probably already paying some sort of housing expense, rent or whatever. Why don't you just plan a little bit and put that money into a house that you own so that you can reap the benefits rather than your landlord getting all of that upside? You may also be thinking, I don't want to move every few years. That just sounds really stressful, time consuming, and expensive. Well, you might change your mind if you look at some of the numbers here. And finally, you might be thinking, I don't have enough money to buy a house. And while that may be true today, I don't know your situation, I do want to challenge your thinking a little bit because buying a house may not be as out of reach as you think it is. With low down payment options, the real main concern is just getting approved for the loan, and there are ways around that. I'm going to go over ways of how to buy your first home in a future video, even with a limited budget, so make sure you're subscribed to see that one. Anyways, let's look at a real life example of the move-up system, and I'll show you how powerful this is. Take this condo for example. It's a 2-bed, 1-bath condo in downtown Toronto, right by the water. Now we're going to look at some numbers here. The sales prices are exact numbers, however, the mortgage numbers might not be exact. They're just rough guidelines to give you a general idea of what you can expect if you had gone through and done this. So let's say you bought this condo in 2017 for $369,000 and you put 5% down because that's all you had. You would have needed $18,450 as your down payment, and your monthly mortgage payment back then would have been around $2,046 per month using a 5-year fixed interest rate of 4.64%. amortized over 25 years. So looking at this chart, over 4 years, you would have paid down over $34,000 towards your loan. So that's now part of your equity. So if you add that to the money you already put into the deal, AKA your down payment, you would have had a total of $52,000 in equity. That's money that you own. Think of it like a forced savings account. Now, if you sold that condo in 2021, 4 years later, you would have sold it for $701,000. That's $332,000 more than what you bought it for. That means the condo price went up by 90% in 4 years, which averages out to about 22.5% per year. Now, that all sounds fine and dandy, but what would you actually walk away with? So we already said how you had $52,632 in equity. So that's your money, okay? Now, if we took the sales price minus your equity and what's left on the mortgage, that would leave us with $317,000, basically $318K. So you basically made $318,000 in 4 years just by owning a condo. That's basically like saying you made just over $79,000 a year just for living in a property. Imagine trying to save $79,000 a year just solely from income from your job. Now, of course, there are other factors that come into play, like maintenance fees, the interest you paid on the loan over that 4 years, realtor fees, closing costs, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you'd still be coming out ahead if you had bought this condo in 2017. So with some rough numbers, over 4 years, you'd be walking away with just under $250,000 to your name, which all started with $18,000 and a few years of paying a mortgage. Now, with that $250K, you can go use that as a down payment on a more expensive home. So let's look at that example. Let's say you use $200,000 as a down payment on an $800K townhouse. Your monthly payment in 2021 would now be $2,242 with a 2.09% fixed interest rate amortized over 30 years. Also keep in mind, you wouldn't have monthly condo fees anymore, so you're saving over $500 a month right there. Obviously, we don't know how the market's gonna perform over the next few years, but if we used a very conservative estimate of 5% appreciation per year, then in 5 years, the home would be worth around $1,020,000. So you basically just added another $200,000 of equity in 5 years. Now keep in mind, for the condo we just looked at, the average appreciation per year over a 4-year period was 22.5%. So that 5% estimate is being really conservative. Then you would just rinse and repeat. In 5 years, you would sell your townhouse and then move up to a bigger house. Of course, the greater that the market appreciates, the bigger of a jump you could make just because you'll have more equity. Now, there are ways to accelerate this process. There's different ways where you can get into the market without having to fork over $2,000 plus per month, plus utilities, plus maintenance fees and all that stuff. However, we're going to talk about that in next week's video, so make sure you are subscribed because you're not going to want to miss that one. But anyways, this is how you can afford a detached home in Toronto, and this is kind of how you should be thinking about it. It's a simple concept, but it does take a little bit of planning and a little bit of hard work and patience. It doesn't mean it's impossible. You just kind of got to work a little bit smarter and a little bit harder to achieve your goals. So to get started, just get the best paying job you can, save up as much money as you can, and try and keep your expenses low. Then when you're ready, buy whatever you can afford, as long as it's within reason, of course. Just buy something that you can afford, live in it for a few years, then sell, upsize, rinse, and repeat. Remember, your down payment doesn't need to be that much. You can put as low as 5% down in some cases, so keep that in mind. If things continue the way they have been over the last decade, then you're gonna see some massive appreciation while you own this home. And that appreciation is then gonna become money that you own that you can use to buy a bigger home in the future. Now, what happens if the market crashes? Honestly, that's unlikely to happen anytime soon. The whole supply and demand thing is just so out of whack that it's really hard to see that prices would take a substantial dip. And either way, what constitutes a huge crash? 30% drop, 40% drop? If you bought a house today and then the market dropped 30% tomorrow, we would be back to pre-COVID levels, which was the highest it ever was at that point in time. Of course, you would be losing money if you bought today, the market dropped 30% tomorrow, and then you sold tomorrow. But if you held onto the house for that 3 to 5 year period, more often than not, you are gonna win. Now, if the market did take a really big hit, you may have to wait a little bit longer than 3 to 5 years to see that appreciation. But again, I don't think we're gonna see that big of a hit that everyone thinks is gonna happen. If you own real estate, you don't lose if the market crashes. You only lose if you sell when the market crashes. So as long as you can afford the home you bought, hang on to it until things recover, then you're gonna be fine. That's gonna wrap this one up. Like I said, next week's video, we're gonna use this concept, but show you how you can get into the market even if you don't have that much money, and show you how you can pour gasoline on this fire to really make this method work for you. If you have any questions or you are thinking of buying or selling a house in the GTA, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact info is below. You can hit me up whatever way works for you. If you want to start looking at houses, if you want to just talk about your plans or your goals, if you have any questions, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm all over the place and I'm here to help. Thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you like the video, please hit the like button. We've got some great videos coming out, so double check, make sure you are subscribed, and make sure your notifications are turned on. Until next time, enjoy yourself and have a great week.